Use Ant's Memory Profiler to understand where your memory is going and to locate memory leaks within minutes. Take snapshots of the heaped memory and compare results and analyze differences using this summary screen and the class list. Pick a class, then an object. Finally, create an object retention graph to see what's holding your object in memory. Click on the link below this video to download your free trial of Ant's Memory Profiler.
Hello and welcome back. Today we're going to continue our series on how to utilize the Rhino Mocks isolation framework. In this episode we're going to pick up where we left off last time when we were looking at how to verify expectations. However, this time we're going to take a slightly different focus, and we're going to take a look at the more complex scenarios that you can do to verify that the parameters that you're using in your calls or in your methods will actually match the data you pushed in. Now, although the focus of this episode will be on how to verify expectations, many of the topics can also be used for setting up stubs or calls into your methods, and I'll point those out as we run across them. So let's review what we did last time. Last time we took a look at two different ways to verify expectations on the send email method. Here we showed one way where you can set up an email gateway.expect, and then you can verify all expectations on here. We also looked at the syntax where you could do email gateway.assert was called. And again, in this episode we'll take a look at both ways as well, just so you have an understanding how you can utilize both. One thing I did change between the last episode and this episode is I made it so that send email actually provided some values into the method. And we provided the username, a hard-coded title, and some kind of description or body of the text. And what we're going to want to do today in our episode is verify that the values being pushed into the send email call stay consistent. So when I push in a username, that username does not get modified somewhere in the process chain, and that we actually know that the username Fred gets passed in, and the username Fred is what's having an email sent to him. And we're also going to want to look to make sure that the title stays consistent and the body of it stays consistent. So let's go ahead and get started. Now, first thing we want to test is setting up so that we don't care what's being passed in. So we took a look at how you can do string, arg string is anything in the past. And then what I'm going to do here is provide, let's do this. Arg is anything, because I don't really care about the username. I really don't care about the title. I just want to verify that hello world is called. So let's go ahead and run this and see what happens. Now you'll see that the test itself actually didn't even run, didn't even hit my breakpoint. And why is that? Well, the reason is that if I drag this up just a bit, when using the arg of t, all arguments must be defined using arg of t, arg of text, list, ref, or out. Now what that is saying is, in my call, here I said arg of t is anything or is anything, but here I left it as a hard-coded hello world. That is not valid. We can't do that. If I wanted to say two things or anything, but the third one is something, I would have to use a different syntax. And I can do that by utilizing the matches syntax. Say string.matches, and I have two options here. I can use a constraint or an expression. We're going to use an expression here. And we can do, I don't know, starts with, there's splits, there's substrings, all the various different values. We'll use equals. So I can say where it equals hello world. Now if I run this again, I should pass just fine. And sure enough, my test did pass. What I want to show you there, like I was saying a second ago, is that you have to either use all the syntax for the arg or none of it. You can't mix and match. Now, what if I don't want to match on an entire word, and I wanted to match just on a partial word? So let's say that I want to say login reminder 4, because the remainder of this can be dynamic. Maybe it says username and then we append on some other information, whatever the case may be. Well, we can use pretty much the same syntax we've already seen. Instead of saying is anything here, we do matches. And again, we're going to use our lambda syntax. And we'll say starts with. And so I don't mess that up, let's go ahead and copy and paste that. And I can now say that I don't really care what my username that's being passed in is. I want to make sure that my second parameter always starts with login reminder 4. And that third parameter is hello world. And actually, let's change this to be is anything, because we don't want to care about that. And if I run this again, I should still continue to pass. And I did. Now, like I did in the last episode, I showed you 2 ways to do it. In this episode, we've taken a look at how to use the expect syntax to set up. Let's now also take a look at how to use the assert what's called syntax. Send email. And I can sit here and I can provide all that same stuff in the body. Once I get the appropriate number of parentheses. And this will give me the same end result. Let's go ahead and run this just to ensure that it does actually work as expected. And sure enough, it does. Now, so you've seen that there's 2 different ways. You can set up your expect at top and then do verify at the bottom, or you can actually just utilize the assert was called, the assert was not called. Now, we were taking a look at this in the context of verification of calls, expectations. But as you can see above in the stub, you can get the same result. So I could do user is anything, user is instance of, user matches. There are various different ways you can do that. And if you take a look at the syntax, there's actually a syntax for list. So you can do some list manipulation. There's 3 that are passed in. It contains a particular element is equal to X. So there's various different ways that you can do your argument validation. So I hope you now notice that you can use multiple different syntaxes to validate your parameters. And I hope you find that it's relatively easy and relatively clean. And until next time.